In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how to recognize bias in news articles, and when we see neutrality. This video will look at the incident where the U.S. Border Patrol fired tear gas at Central American migrants trying to cross into the United States. The first article we'll look at is from Reuters. Reuters can be considered a very factual, high-quality journalistic site. They tried to maintain a very high level of neutrality. The first thing we want to look at is balance. And with balance, we want to see that all of the parties that are involved get an equal say in what happened. You get to hear everybody's voices. And the three parties are, you see here highlighted, U.S. authorities, Central American migrants, and President Donald Trump. In this Reuters article, all three are given some airtime, but what we notice most of all is that the two major players, the blue, which is the Central American migrants, and the yellow, which is the U.S. Border Patrol, get about equal time. The motives of the immigrants are given, things that they've said are made clear, as well as the motives for the Customs and Border Protection, their motives, and why they decided to or were commanded to dispel tear gas. That isn't the same case for some of the other journalism that is out there. This article comes from the Daily Wire, and this has a distinct lack of balance. In the lead, it refers to the U.S. Border Patrol's top San Diego agent, and further on in the article continues to only talk about patrol agents. Here's Rodney Scott, a patrol agent. Here is Brandon Judd, a Border Patrol Council president, Judd again, and then the San Diego Border Chief said again. So all of these quotes are from Border Patrol, and they're all pretty, they don't uphold the motives of the Central American migrants. They try to put them down. The same is true for the Daily Cause, which actually lives sort of on the left side of the spectrum. They're also considered, like the Daily Wire, an extreme interpretation of the news. Only in this case, I kept with the blue color. All of the quotes come from just one Central American migrant, which means this piece is not balanced at all. The next thing I want to look at is tone. This is where journalists use either neutral or loaded language. Loaded language would evoke stereotypes or cause strong emotions. So in our first example of Reuters, there is a high level of neutrality, and I'll show you a few examples of that. When this journalist uses verbs, they use verbs like mirrored and stopped and told them to wait, which are really pretty calm sort of verbs considering what was happening at the border on this day. In another section, they describe the migrants as just groups rather than something like mobs and bearing the Honduran flag, and broke off and headed towards the border fence. So that is very even-keeled. On the other side of the border, officers were just gathering rather than doing anything nefarious. So both parties are treated very, very neutrally. When we look again at the Daily Wire, the tone is quite different. There's a lot of loaded language starting with the headline. Rock-throwing migrants is how they describe them, migrants, and also as people who would push women and children up front as human shields. That's amazingly loaded. They describe them here in the lead as violent, as storming and shoving, and as a mob. And later on, rather than the Reuters article saying throwing projectiles, they go into detail with rocks, cement bricks, which sounds very scary, and bottles, while they were also chanting and waving a Honduran flag. Finally, in the Daily Cause article, to evoke pity, I think maybe for the Central American migrants, the author uses a lot of loaded language, like describing the woman saying she thought her children were going to die with me, and that one of her sons almost fainted from the tear gas. It goes on to vilify Donald Trump, saying that he defended children in diapers choking on tear gas by making up a story that's very loaded in a way that the left often attacks Donald Trump. They also said the administration physically attacks families. Again, loaded language using adjectives like despicable and the mantra that we hear a lot about putting children in cages. On the flip side, we can study the image in the same article looking like this poor man is being hunted maybe by these guys up here, or just looks very terrified of all the smoke that's going on. And then the article that has vilified the migrants shows them as this kind of mob, as they use in the article, climbing this hill, like coming towards the US. So there we have a quick look at the way the media treats a certain topic, with a very neutral article presented by Reuters and two very biased articles presented by the Daily Wire and the Daily Kos. Thank you for listening.